What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of The 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. We've talked on the YouTube channel about Mission Impossible. Guys, this is a blockbuster series that I absolutely have grown to love over the years. And really, guys, the more recent ones, it's been one of those franchises that seems to keep on getting better and better as we go along. And that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours in the comment section below about the Mission Impossible movies and where they rank as far as, just all 7 of them, or I should say 6 of them up to this point. Where do they rank for you as far as, from best to least favorite? I gotta say, though, the most recent movies in this franchise that have come out, I've absolutely enjoyed thoroughly. And like I said, they're really, just these action, exciting movies. And Tom Cruise, obviously helming this thing, just has taken it to such incredible, made leaps and bounds over time. Let's just put it that way. But what I want to talk about, guys, is this is another franchise, like many that we've talked about here on the YouTube channel, that is facing a very interesting situation, that being with the pandemic going on in our world, guys. Lots of things are, reopening, and things are, kind of going back to somewhat of some form of normalcy, right? But we don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? Or in the foreseeable future, that being like later this year. Lots of people think that the pandemic is going to have a resurgence, and then there might be, a lot of other movies and video games that end up being postponed even further. Because we already know, guys, lots of movies have been postponed to later on into 2020 and even into 2021, which is causing this very interesting dynamic where a lot of movies and studios that weren't expecting to compete with certain movies are now having to do that and being forced to, essentially, because they don't want to push these movies so far into the future. Well, one of these movies, guys, Mission Impossible 7, is currently slated for November 19th of 2021. And so here's the thing, guys. November next year, that being 2021, is probably going to be pretty packed. And we all know December is going to be coming with Avatar 2 amongst a number of other movies, guys, right? Even movies that haven't been announced yet that are going to be coming out later next year. So it's slated for November of 2021. Don't hold your breath, though, because I think if the pandemic does come back, lots of movies are going to be postponed, and this could be postponed once again. Especially if they're not finished with like principal photography, if they're not finished, of course, with like shooting the film as a whole, and then going into post-production and such. It can be a very rigorous and long process, guys, for these studios. And so I think what we got to think of is, at this point, where is this movie? Sure, it's been pushed back. It is still slated to come out in 2021, which is really exciting, guys. I am very excited about this movie. I kind of wish it was, it feels to me more like Mission Impossible should be like a summer blockbuster movie that you would watch. So, unfortunately, we're going to get it closer to the winter, that being, late fall, early winter, that being in November. And it might even be pushed even back even further, which would go well into the winter, potentially into 2022, which would be really unfortunate, guys. But like I said, it's hard to say what is going to happen here with this pandemic. If it comes back in a major way and there's, a number of lockdowns once again, let's hope that doesn't happen, knock on wood. But if it did, Mission Impossible 7, amongst many other movies, are probably going to get pushed back into 2022. But where's the movie, guys? Seems like at this point they have, really, they've already started pretty much the production of the film. I don't know what stage that they're in at this point, because obviously things were put on a hiatus once this pandemic started. So that kind of brings up a number of other question marks. When are they going to be able to go back to finishing this film? So those are things that we all have to think about in this process. And I've gotten questions, people asking about Mission Impossible 7, and like, if I had heard anything. Really, guys, at this point, we are at November 19th, 2021 is when Mission Impossible 7 is slated to come out, but take that with a pinch of salt, because it very well may change at some point or another throughout this process. Hopefully it stays there. It'd be awesome if it actually moved back to sometime in the summer of 2021. I think that would be absolutely great. But this is also creating some issues, guys, with some of the studios, and they're competing with movies that they weren't expecting to have to compete with. I mean, November of 2020 is looking just the amount of movies coming out later this year, it's going to be crazy, guys, to say the least. But it'll be hard to say, guys, what happens here moving forward. But all I can say is that Mission Impossible 7, whatever it may be called, I am incredibly excited about this movie. I think it's going to be really great. Seeing Tom Cruise do some incredible stunts once again, which he does pretty much all of his own stunts, guys, which I think is something really special. And just the action is just very good. It has humor in it. It's got a little bit of everything in the Mission Impossible movie. So I'm excited to see this when it finally does release, hopefully latest November of 2021. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys want to see in Mission Impossible 7 the most? And do you think it'll be able to stick to that release date, in 2021? Let me know what you guys think. And for more Mission Impossible 7 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. You guys have heard me talk about Watch Dogs Legion on a number of occasions here on the YouTube channel, and that's because, guys, number one, I am a fan of the Watch Dogs franchise, even though, the first couple of games, maybe they didn't hit in every category or in every way that we may have hoped as fans of this franchise, but I have a lot of hope for Watch Dogs Legion, which I'll get to here in a sec. Even though, guys, there's at this point in time, it's hard to say when this game is going to be coming out, once again, because of the pandemic and such. So what I want to talk about in this second segment of the show, I want to talk about Watch Dogs Legion and everything that we want in this game. And when I say we, guys, I mainly am talking about myself. And there may be things, though, that you actually agree with, some things you may disagree with. Let me know what you guys think and what the things that you want to see in Watch Dogs Legion. So let's get right into it, guys. Obviously, Watch Dogs Legion, guys, just the setting from the reveal trailers and from the setting itself, post-Brexit, London and such. This is a place and pretty much a town in which, in an area where I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for exploration. I think there's going to be a lot more to do in, say, post-Brexit London. I think that there's going to be some very special elements of this game. And I just do, guys. I feel as a full package deal, I think that Watch Dogs Legion is going to do exactly that. And here's the thing. They're calling it Watch Dogs Legion. They're not calling it Watch Dogs 3. Now, it's been confirmed that Watch Dogs Legion, guys, is a sequel to Watch Dogs 2. But the fact that they're calling it Watch Dogs Legion and not Watch Dogs 2 leads me to believe one main thing. That is that they are going all in on Legion. They're basically saying, look, we are going to make this the best game that we possibly can. We are not going to plan on making a continuation. We want to just make Watch Dogs Legion the best it can possibly be. Because the thing about Watch Dogs 1 and Watch Dogs 2, even though some people loved them, some people hated them, the fact of the matter was that it felt like the developers, that being Ubisoft, deciding to it made it seem like they would try to continue making this a series of games that would come out over time, instead of trying to really just focus and hone in on one particular game here in the franchise, trying to really build a foundation for this franchise. I mean, if you go on Twitch, guys, you go on some of these other streaming platforms and you look at how many people are watching Watch Dogs content or people streaming the game, it's very minimal. This is a franchise, guys, that needs something that's really going to boost everything. It's going to boost the fan base. It's going to continue to build upon the legacy and the lore that they started with the first two Watch Dogs, whether that be positive or negative in your personal opinions. I think Watch Dogs Legion is going to hit on a number of different areas. So the number one thing, guys, that obviously I want in Watch Dogs Legion is a full-blown open world setting. I want to be able to, even if it's semi-open world, I want to have a really a lot of opportunity to explore, really take in this entire, all the environments and really take things in as you go, whether it's through your first playthrough of the single player story, or it's, playing it over and over again and being able to check out different things as you go. So an open world setting, guys, I think is very important for Watch Dogs Legion. I think we are going to get that as well. Something that's like a full-blown open world. I would love to see that. Number 2, guys, would be, look, I want to be surprised with the story. I really do. I do want it to kind of tie in to the other Watch Dogs games, but I'm more okay with it being like its own thing, its own story. Has nothing to really even do with the other 2 games. Overall, maybe it ties in some way or another at the end of the story. I kind of want it just to be its own thing. I think that's the most important thing, and I feel like that's where they're going with, it being called Watch Dogs Legion. The next thing, guys, I think we all can agree with is a multiplayer experience or multiple multiplayer experiences that we, of course, will come back to over and over again, right? I think that they've added some very interesting modes and, and of course, Watch Dogs too. But I just think that they didn't land well for everyone. I think maybe having some traditional game modes, from even other games, and Ubisoft has tons of other IPs that they own. So having maybe some other, modes that feel more traditional to some of Ubisoft's games would be good. And then some of Watch Dogs' very own, game modes in multiplayer, I think would be really, really good as well. So having just more ways that we can connect with this franchise and having multiple game modes, not just a couple game modes, having multiple game modes that we can play in a multiplayer setting. And it really looks like, guys, when you look at just the trailers, you look at all of the different wallpapers that have come out and images of Watch Dogs Legion, this looks like a game primed for cosmetic items. I'm not necessarily talking monetization, even though that's probably going to be in there, but I'm talking about earnable and unlockable, types of items for your characters and such. Hopefully, most of these are, things that you earn over time throughout playing the multiplayer, playing the story mode, playing some co-op modes, which we'll get to here in a sec. Having ways in which that you can customize, but more than that, it's actually earning stuff, not necessarily having just to pay for those things in monetization tactics that lots of these companies have come up with. I would love to have some earnable items that you can earn in-game that are very prestigious, and like shows your rank or whatever the case might be, whether they're emblems or, titles or whatever it might be, guys, ways in which you build reason to continue playing the multiplayer experiences in Watch Dogs Legion, I think is really important. Think of Call of Duty. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 you would get to the 10th prestige, which it took a while to get there, unless you boosted, which obviously, guys, nowadays, that's not something that really happens in today's titles, which is a very good thing, by the way. But getting to that 10th prestige and then getting the 10th prestige medallion took a long time, guys. And when you finally earned those things and you got it, it felt like a real achievement. So things of that nature in Watch Dogs Legion, when we're talking from a multiplayer perspective, would be great. And the same could be said with the single player story, finding different collectibles or, whatever it might be, secrets within the world and even Easter eggs would be absolutely awesome. Now, the next thing, guys, in my opinion, is having multiple co-op modes, having ways in which not only can I do a single player story, I could maybe even do it as a co-op story. Playing the multiplayer with your friends is always fun as well, but also having side quests, or more than that, having like co-op modes in which you can play with your friends just on your own, whether it's online or just, playing with your friends in like a split screen setting, or just playing with local friends. I think that's really important for any series out there, guys. Once again, I'll bring up Call of Duty just because we're at it, and I talked about Modern Warfare. Having, multiple modes in Call of Duty, even from a co-op perspective, like Spec Ops or Zombies, or, there are lots of different modes, even like Warzone, which is the Battle Royale mode in Call of Duty. Now, I'm not saying that Watch Dogs should have a Battle Royale, but the idea here is that you have multiple ways to connect with the franchise. So when you're done playing the single-player story, it's not that you play that a couple of times and you move on to another game. No, you beat that single player story. You maybe play it one or two other times after that on a higher difficulty or something. And then you also can play co-op modes with your friends, play multiplayer by yourself or with other people. Just multiple ways, guys, that you can connect with the franchise. And over time, guys, this scene can significantly grow, in my opinion. I think it's going to also come down to content creators and streamers streaming the game, creating content around the game. I think that's really important. There are guys who do that at this point, but I think it's really important for this game to really go to the next level. It needs to really set more of a foundation with the Watch Dogs IP, and I think having a ton of ways that you can connect with this franchise is going to be a really good way in doing that, because it helps content creators create lots of different types of content, helps streamers come back and keep on playing the game, and I think it just all in all it works and helps everybody. But at the end of the day, guys, if the game is really good, it's going to show. If it's not good, well, then it's going to be a lot harder. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a really special title by Ubisoft. I really do. And I hope that there aren't like a ton of monetization, tactics and such in it. Like I said, monetization tactics never really bothered me individually, but I know it's affected many people out there. And so I hope that if they do it in a completely fair way that isn't deceptive to the consumer, that being us as the players, and no pay to win kind of tactics or anything of that sort. That is, obviously, guys, what we want. But it would be nice just to not have those things at all, right? But we'll see what happens. But let me know, guys, in the comment section below, do you guys agree or do you disagree about the things that I brought up about Watch Dogs Legion? What things do you want to see in this upcoming title? Let me know. And for more Watch Dogs Legion content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Battlefield 6, there is an absolute ton of speculation, and a lot of people are kind of giving their 2 cents on the things that they want to see in Battlefield 6 and where they think the setting's going to be. Is it going to be futuristic? Is it going to be, what is the setting going to be here? And lots of people are kind of, like I said, kind of giving their takes on what could really encompass this title. And I've already made a video, guys, on the YouTube channel talking about everything that I won in Battlefield 6. You guys can check that out. One of the things that I didn't mention in that video, though, that I think is really important that we need to mention is esports and a dedicated esports scene regarding Battlefield 6. So let's talk about that, guys. Lots of people out there, they just love to just play games, right? You just love to sit down, enjoy the time. It's kind of like the passing time, or having some time to yourself. You like to play video games, right? And that's one thing that a lot of people just absolutely love. I'm one of those people that likes to pass the time just by playing video games. And others, though, look at this from a very competitive standpoint. They love playing the game, but they also want to enter into tournaments. They want to win, and those are you kind of do this. Gamers are kind of put into different brackets, right? And so then, of course, you've got the people who not only love to play the game at a competitive, from a competitive standpoint, but they also like to see or create content from other people or create the content themselves on YouTube, or even on Twitch, wherever it might be, guys. They like to learn more and more about the scene and about the game in particular that they love so much. And Battlefield 6 has had lots of streamers, guys, lots of content creators out there, a lot of notable content creators out there regarding Battlefield. But the one thing that Battlefield has tried, they've kind of like dipped their toes into, but then they end up, kind of getting out of it just as soon as they got in, is esports. For some reason or another, the esports scene for Battlefield, for how big this scene is, you would think that Battlefield's, just as a franchise, would have a dedicated esports scene. And so why is it that they don't have this? Well, we could go into, that could be another conversation for another day, guys, why it is Battlefield and EA has decided to kind of stay pretty much away from the esports side of things. Because EA, you look at this company as a whole and you would think that they would definitely want to have an esports scene for one of their biggest titles out there. I mean, you look at Madden and you look at some of these other sporting titles that they have esports for those titles, and Battlefield's one of their biggest titles. So here's the thing. Maybe esports was never meant to be a part of Battlefield, but to me, guys, esports is something, guys, that really any title out there could be a part of esports, and it not only helps to build the competitive nature of the game, but it also builds the scene as a whole. It starts bringing teams in, advertisers in. It starts to really blossom into something massive over time, and Battlefield could certainly do that, guys, even if it was just with their Battlefield 5 Firestorm, which of course is their Battle Royale mode, which obviously, guys, battle royales and competitive game modes, we've seen it happen, but it's, not to a significant extent besides maybe Fortnite and Apex Legends. You see Warzone, you see other battle royales kind of do tournaments and such, but a dedicated esports scene in battle royale might be difficult. But Battlefield is a game that's primed to have an esports side. Now, would I say that esports side would have, game modes in Battlefield that are like massive maps with having the vehicles and such? Probably not, to be honest with you guys. I think Battlefield needs to take the approach similar to Call of Duty. And look, Call of Duty, guys, is one of my favorite games of all time. But Call of Duty did take some things from Battlefield, and they still do to this day. I mean, think of, some of the new game modes that have been added to Call of Duty. And I mean, so you got to really think about just the scope here. Battlefield has done one thing very well, and it's having these really open battlefields that, of course, have, all the vehicles and things of that nature that you can, jump into. And just, they've done a great job, of course, with the graphics as well on these maps of that scale. But I think what they need to do in Battlefield 6, and we kind of touched on this in one of my other videos for Battlefield 6 with everything that we want, is kind of adding, different modes to this game that would more symbolize not necessarily Call of Duty, but just smaller maps. Having smaller maps, maybe no vehicles at all, making them smaller, more condensed, make them very strategic in different ways, and keep Battlefield, keep the feeling of a Battlefield title, with walls being blown down and make it, keep it the same way. Just remove the vehicles and make some of the maps a little bit smaller. You can certainly have some bigger maps in your esports scene, but I think, guys, that what spectators want to see out of an esports title is simplicity. They want something that they can easily just sit down, understand immediately. Like you watch Overwatch. If you watch the Overwatch League, a lot of times it seems very chaotic. You watch Call of Duty, it may not seem very, chaotic like Overwatch is, but there's a bunch of different game modes, so you have to learn those game modes. And so being a spectator, most people would just, kind of start looking at a game like CSGO, which has one game mode, or games kind of like that, right? League of Legends. After you start understanding these things, it's very easy just to sit there and just watch these games once you start to learn essentially what's going on. So I think that with Battlefield, as far as dipping your toes once again in esports, having one game mode, right? Make it one of your most popular game modes for Battlefield, but just don't add the vehicles, right? Make it like a team deathmatch or a search and destroy, which seems to always work, like with CSGO, even Call of Duty. Make a search and destroy type of game mode on, a number of different maps, change up the maps, but keep it the exact same. As far as, not having, vehicles and such. And it could just be its own playlist, like a competitive playlist or something, which Call of Duty does with like league play and such. I think that this would help Battlefield out in a drastic way. It would make a lot of people in the competitive scene take it more seriously. And I think that esports deserves to have Battlefield. I think Battlefield deserves to be an esport. I just do, guys. I think they go hand in hand. There's going to be things that need to change, obviously, in certain aspects with that competitive playlist, but there's no reason why Battlefield 6 should not implement esports in their arsenal of things that they do, so to speak. I believe, guys, that Battlefield deserves to have an esports scene. I really do. And I know that they've tried, like ESL and other, companies have tried to figure out ways with Battlefield to make an esports scene, but it just really hasn't seemed to work out really well, or at least it hasn't got to the grand stage here of some of these other titles out there. And I think there's something special with Battlefield there. Now, maybe EA wants to, and DICE, these guys want to stay away from it for whatever reason. They just don't want to put the extra, extra funds into making it an esports scene. But at the same time, I think that there's something there. Battlefield has something that none of these other games have out there in the first-person shooter genre, and I think that deserves to be seen on a grand scale in a competitive scene. But let me know, guys, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Battlefield 6 should implement esports and make it one of their top priorities moving into this title, as far as really putting emphasis that this is an esports title? Let me know what you guys think, and for more Battlefield 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Do you guys remember the Lost Planet series, guys? We got 3 games at this very point in time of Lost Planet. We also had a spin-off that was called X Troopers, and it was a spin-off, of course, of Lost Planet, which came out, I believe, in 2012. But the last title in this franchise was in 2013 with Lost Planet 3. And guys, this was a incredibly fun action game, guys, third-person shooter. And you know what, guys? It reminded me a lot of Gears of War, except without all the gore. It had different creatures and things of that nature. It was like that family-friendly title that you could play, very bright, colorful environments, lots of snowy environments, but nonetheless, it reminded me a lot of Gears of War and even Horizon Zero Dawn. And guys, I really felt that there was something special with this franchise. Up to this point, guys, as of December 31st, 2019, the game series has sold 6.2 million units worldwide. And so look, in this segment of the show, I want to talk about Lost Planet 4. A game that obviously hasn't been announced, hasn't been confirmed, but I want to talk about Lost Planet 4 because it's a game that I absolutely want to see. I know a lot of you out there also remember Lost Planet, and you guys want to see Lost Planet 4 at some point or another. And I want to talk about why this game should exist in today's day and age, with just in the gaming landscape as a whole. So let's get into it, guys. Lost Planet. This was a game in a series, like I said, guys, reminds me, as of lately, more of Horizon Zero Dawn. But, if you go back, it reminded me of Gears of War because it was a game that came out that I was playing quite often, kind of side by side with Gears. I would play Gears of War, and then I would jump over to Lost Planet and kind of play each of them. And I gotta say, I absolutely loved Lost Planet. I thought it was an absolutely incredible game that was just really fun. It was a really fun-filled, game that I think Capcom, being, the developer of this, I feel like they didn't take full advantage. I mean, they made a few titles here, but then the developer turned into Spark Unlimited in 2013, and they've done nothing, absolutely nothing with this title. Like trying to, progress this story and this series moving forward. And I never understood it because I think there is absolutely something there. Think about this, guys. 6.2 million units back, between, 2006 to 2013, okay? And obviously, some of those sales are, more recently, but at the same time, we haven't seen a game since 2013. So really, like, what happened here? And I mean, will this be a series that ever returns? I think that it would be very unfortunate if this series didn't come back, guys. I think that maybe Spark Unlimited or maybe Capcom, whoever it might be, maybe working on it behind closed doors and we just don't know it. But why this game should exist is, more of a question of why shouldn't it exist? Because at the end of the day, Lost Planet, not only selling all those copies, but this was a game that I felt like was really acceptable to pretty much a wide range of people out there, as far as different, ages, all kinds of different ages could play this game versus that of some of the other games that come out that are in the shooter genre. A lot of people can't play them, or a lot of, younger audiences can't play it because, they're just really gory or very violent. Lost Planet had violence, right? But it was also one of those games that it made it so that it was very easy for any age group to really understand what you had to do. They made like the different creatures, had different areas on the creatures that you would shoot, and that would make it so that it make it easier to kill that enemy. Just different things like that would help you defeat bosses and defeat some of these creatures and such. And look, I think that, to me, I don't see how, even from a financial standpoint, why Lost Planet 4 is something that couldn't happen in the future. Because when you sell that many units, guys, Lost Planet 4 could absolutely sell very well for whoever the developer may be. Now, the creator, Kenji Oguro, he was the one who created this series. And look, as to whatever happened to this story or to this series as a whole, because this is a series that got mixed to positive reviews. You had a film adaptation of this that was going to that was essentially going to happen, but in 2014, Hayter revealed that plans for the film simply faded after the studio hit a financial crash around the time he submitted his draft. So look, they were even going to make a film out of this, guys. Lost Planet was going to be a film. Didn't happen. But I think that at the end of the day, Lost Planet as a whole, guys, deserves to continue. And I think that the legacy and the lore of this, people especially playing on the next gen of consoles, should definitely get a chance to play this franchise. This was a special franchise, guys, and it came out so long ago, it feels like. I mean, you're thinking, if you really think about it, guys, all of these games that came out on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. So that is a long time ago if you really think about it. And so I think that not only did we not get to see a Lost Planet on the Xbox One and the PS4, but what a great way to bring the series back on the next-gen consoles with that even better graphics and such. And even for its time, had some really great graphics. The first few, Lost Planet games, even though, I felt that Lost Planet and Lost Planet 2 were really good. I didn't, the third one was okay. But at the same time, guys, I just want to see a continuation of this franchise. And I know a lot of you out there do as well. Now, some of you may not want to see a continuation. Let me know why, or why not? Seeing this Lost Planet franchise coming back from the grave, or from a limbo state at this point, to bring back Lost Planet 4. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below as to why or why not this series should exist. And for more Lost Planet 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.